Hey, Metro D, what is that from? How could you have possibly left a comment when I just started 11 seconds ago? But thank you for that positive comment there. It's nice to start my live and see something so positive. I don't know what that comment's from, but hey, I'm glad I saw it. Let me just fix this. Is that better? No. Have the line across my forehead again. Oh my goodness. I can't tell until I start filming if that line is there. It's the light in my room because they don't have lighting. We did this last time. We're doing it again. So anyways, that's fine. We'll just wait for people to join us as I fix the light again. That's better. Yeah, well, good time to mention. This is all guerrilla style. This is why Jordan has a Patreon to subscribe to, because he's starting from scratch. And you know, we don't have soundproof rooms and lighting rings, and I use my phone to do this. I was a journalist for 2 or 3 years, and I traveled the country interviewing people. I can't do that anymore. Don't have the funding for it. That's really what I want to do. I want to get out on the streets and interview and share real stories with real people, and give a microphone and amplify people's voices. But for now, we're just doing this, and hopefully, you know, you're liking what we're doing, and we can get some Patreon subscribers and get out onto the streets to report the injustices that are happening around the country. But anyways, hey, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me here. I want to talk today about the craziness that's going on in the EPA, because there's a lot, and there always is, but it takes a backseat to some crazy Trump tweet or Melania's jacket, which I actually did report on because it was mind-blowing, and all the circus, which is the Trump administration. So yeah, I mean, the EPA is life. Well, the EPA is corrupt now, but the environment and the planet is life. So I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about the wrap up of the Poor People's Campaign. Amazing end of the campaign, but it's just the beginning for them. And if I can slip in the Maxine Waters craziness, I will, just because I love Maxine and I've met her and I've interviewed her, and she's just a really feisty, strong woman who I admire. And it is. It's ridiculous. Are you kidding me? Have we ever seen anything like this before, where politicians are fighting with each other on Twitter? And people love it. And people love it because the United States has become a country of reality TV shows. And I am just as guilty as everyone else because I watch The Bachelorette. But that's about the only one. I watch Survivor, and I watch an amazing show called Alone, where these people are left out in Patagonia or in BC to survive. And I actually love that because I want to live in the forest, and I do for a few weeks every summer, which is coming up soon. I go crazy inside my house. I love foraging and such. So anyways, we're all here today. Good to see ya. Let's talk about the EPA, and this is insane what they have done. So the EPA, and I'm talking about Trump's EPA, because, you know, the old EPA was flawed here and there, but they fought for the planet and they fought for the people. But the Trump administration has come in and turned everything backwards. So what used to be the Environmental Protection Agency is now, how can I rape and pillage the environment to fill up my pocket and bank account agency under Trump's administration and Scott Pruitt and all the fossil fuel industry people that he has put into place in replacing the scientists who used to work for the EPA, who actually cared about the planet and the people. So yeah, that's what's happened with the Trump administration. And if this was a Democrat, I'd be saying the same thing. So if you're a Republican and you're watching this and I sound like a crazy liberal, I don't give a shit who is president if they're destroying the environment and the agencies that protect the environment, and which will in turn make people sick, cause war. I'm going to talk about it. So yeah, the EPA commissioned a coin. 2017 commemorative coin, congratulating disaster responders in how they responded to the hurricanes and the natural disasters, including Puerto Rico. Okay, so this is just for the EPA. We're not talking about in general how the United States responded to the devastation in Puerto Rico, because if they make a coin for that, I would have no words. This is just a commemorative coin congratulating the EPA on how they responded to this 2017's natural disasters, including Puerto Rico, in which there should not be a coin for that, because no one should be congratulated how they responded at all to Puerto Rico, or even in Texas, the way that doesn't deserve congratulations, and maybe people don't understand, but let me be specific. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Oh, no. Wait. Went away. Okay, so let's just talk. I'm going to tell you the truth about how shitty the EPA did respond to the natural disasters, why there shouldn't be a coin, but let's talk about the coin sneezing again. Real quick. The disaster responders are spending $8,500 on coins to congratulate its response, the EPA's response to the 2017 natural disasters, including hurricanes that ravaged Texas and Puerto Rico. The contract details show 1,750 coins, along with boxes, are to be delivered by the end of the month. The back of the coin should say, the back of the coin, this is what the creators were told. Creators, artists of the coin were told. Oh, I can't. I have to sneeze. We're told that the back of the coin should convey the sentiment that EPA staff from all across the country worked together to respond to the incidents from Puerto Rico to California. And the coin should include the phrase response excellence to the year 2017, and should say in capitals, protecting human health and environment all across America. Okay. All right. Now, I'm not a part of the EPA. I'm sure there are still fighters in there from the original EPA who care about the environment and who care about the planet. And I'm not aiming towards them at all. And good on you to stay in there, because when people from these agencies quit, I feel like we're losing the good guys, right? Because they're only being replaced by Trump's people. So I do feel like we've lost when I hear about people from the Environmental Protection Agency or other agencies who just quit under the Trump reign because they can't handle the corruption and don't want to be a part of it. I understand it, but I wish they would stick it out, because we need those good people in there. But anyways, in general, the EPA failed huge to respond to these national disasters. So let's just highlight a little bit how they failed. In Puerto Rico, we have a massive problem with the way the situation was handled by the EPA in regards to the water. This was the EPA's job, to make sure that in times of natural disasters that there was a policy put in place to protect the water supply of areas, and that there was a plan of action put into place that they would execute if there was a problem with the water. And there was a plan of action put into place that the EPA had for any natural disasters in Puerto Rico. But when waterborne illnesses did start showing up in Puerto Rico, the EPA did not follow through with those plans, and the water continued to be contaminated. People became sick. So the EPA failed. They did not take action. There were waterborne illnesses and widespread bacterial contamination. There were boil water advisories for the majority of the island, and reports that people were getting their drinking water from Superfund sites. Okay, sorry, we're going to have bad connection today, because I have had bad connection all day. But what I am saying is people in Puerto Rico were going to Superfund sites. Superfund sites are areas that have been, if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, have been shut down because the contamination level in the soil or the water is so high that the EPA deems it that people cannot live there because there's so much toxicity and pollution in that area. So it is sectioned off as a Superfund site. So people in Puerto Rico were going to Superfund sites to get their water because those sites had not been properly locked down by the EPA because they weren't getting any water to their homes, and then they weren't being given any bottled water. People had no water. They had to go to these Superfund sites, and like I said, there were waterborne illnesses that were and still are present all over Puerto Rico that the EPA did nothing about. They did not address the drinking water quality, and water is life. So now they're making a commemorative coin, congratulating the excellence of the EPA when people in Puerto Rico were dying and are dying still because they don't have quality water. Wow. The lies. That is the thing that gets me the most about this. I mean, and politicians have always lied, but the lies this time during this administration are so blatant. And the fact that so many Americans just believe anything that they're fed, and we've just become a society of like ants marching, frightens me, really, and that's the cause of that is the animosity that the Trump administration has, purposely built up to pit Republicans against Democrats. So we're so busy fighting each other that we don't even try to make logical decisions or do research. It's just like, I'm a Trump supporter and he says this and therefore I believe it, and everyone else is wrong. And so we're divided, and then they can do whatever they want to us and take advantage of us, which they are. So this is Eric Olson, a senior director at the Natural Resource Defense Council, said every state and territory is required to have an emergency drinking water plan in place for natural disasters. And obviously, when the EPA approved the plan, they are supposed to affirm that there is an adequate plan for response. The EPA did approve the plan, but clearly didn't have an adequate plan for the drinking water and never followed through. So there you have Puerto Rico. And obviously we know there's a million other things wrong with the way that our country responded and is still failing to respond to Puerto Rico. And now this is besides this a different fact, but suicide rate in Puerto Rico is now higher than ever because of everything that they've been through. Literally at this point, there's so much despair that people are killing themselves, statistically much higher than ever. And that is in direct response to the devastation that has happened there and the United States' lack of helping the people in need. So, and it wasn't just, now this coin is not just commemorating their excellence and how EPA responded in Puerto Rico, but also commemorating the excellence and how the EPA responded in all natural disasters in 2017. So that's including Texas. Now, here's a fact about what happened in Houston. When Hurricane Harvey caused massive, unprecedented flooding, the I can never say this, the San Jacinto River paste pits Superfund site. So again, another Superfund site was damaged and began leaking wastes. And the EPA had initially declared it safe. So the Superfund site in Texas was flooded and damaged and leaking these toxic wastes into the soil and the water that was going to the residents of the surrounding areas. And the EPA went in there and knew this was happening, and they said it was safe. This is coming from Neil Carmen, a former Texas environmental official who now works for the Sierra Club, said they didn't want to make public how bad the situation was. It's a complicated situation, but I can't believe that they are giving awards to people for this. It's kind of disgusting to me because the huge concern is that a lot of material escaped and flooding carried the dioxide and dioxin to people's yards where it still remains. So the EPA is actually spending money on making these coins. Granted, it's not a lot, but it doesn't matter. So not only are they congratulating themselves for a job well done, which they didn't do a good job at all, and they're still failing to take care of the problems that are currently happening because of these natural disasters, but they're actually spending money on making these coins. And these problems in Puerto Rico and in Texas, they still exist. And no one's putting any money into them. In fact, the EPA is trying to cover up everything. And they are successfully doing it. You don't see this on the news. No one knows about this except for and that the residents of Texas, how many of them actually know that these dioxins are now in their soil and in their drinking water? And what down the line will this look like? I can tell you what it will look like because we have the same problem in Buffalo. It will look like a massive outbreak of autoimmune diseases in adults and children. It will look like birth defects. It will look like stillborns. It will look like cancer. It will look like sickness. And they're letting it go. And then they're congratulating themselves for it. So that's why we fight every day. That's why we fight. We have to get this administration out. We have to rebuild every single office that they have destroyed. We have to get good people in. So that's that. Yeah, I just wonder also, do people who live in that area actually know in Texas? Okay, more EPA news. Newly released Scott Pruitt emails show more ties to lobbyists in fossil fuel industry. Wow. I mean, it's sad because this is news and this is incredibly, incredibly important. And the hypocrisy of having the head of the EPA just doing the bidding of the fossil fuel industry. It's just completely hypocritical. Environmental Protection Agency, it no longer exists. But anyways, so newly released internal emails show Scott Pruitt's office discussed hiring the family friend of a fossil fuel lobbyist whose wife was the person who was renting Pruitt a Washington, D.C. condo at only $50 a night. So you know the whole thing that went on with Scott Pruitt where they found out that he was getting perks from this person who was renting him this condo at $50 a night, where normally it was like hundreds of dollars a night. They've been, investigating that, and they did find these emails that actually show this information. So the emails were released as part of the Freedom of Information Act filed by the Sierra Club. So good on the Sierra Club. In one of the emails, the lobbyist, J. Stephen Hart, wrote to Pruitt's chief of staff that his wife, Vicky, has to talk to Scott about this kid who is important to us. He told Vicky to talk to you about how to handle this. And Pruitt's chief of staff replied, on it. In other emails, this lobbyist for the fossil fuel industry, Stephen Hart, also lobbied Pruitt's office on behalf of Coca-Cola and the bank HSBC. Pruitt had on the record lied. He went on record and lied before these emails came out, and he falsely claimed that Stephen Hart did not lobby the EPA last year, in which these emails reveal that he did. So Stephen Hart essentially was asking Scott Pruitt to hire someone to work for the EPA who was a friend of this woman who was renting out this apartment to Scott Pruitt at $50 a night. So that's how you get hired to the EPA. You rent out an apartment to Scott Pruitt for free, and then he owes you a favor, and then he hires someone that you ask him to. So other internal emails show that a month after becoming EPA administrator, Scott Pruitt told top executives with the American Petroleum Institute that he was looking to fill regional director positions with the agency. He literally reached out to the American Petroleum Institute. He literally reached out to members of the fossil fuel industry and said, I need to hire people to work for the Environmental Protection Agency. So hello, over there at the American Petroleum Industry, do you have anyone who would like to work for the Environmental Protection Agency? And he hired them. He literally went out of his way to contact fossil fuel industry executives and say, look, I'll hire whoever you want to. Ooh, Jordan's going live soon. Anyways, so I'm going to wrap this up, and he's got something special to tell you. So anyways, so he lied. He lied to the public. He lied on camera that these things never happened, and now they have the proof to show it. One last thing I'm going to leave you with, and I'll pick this up, when I come back on Thursday, but the Trump administration is pushing the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration away from studying climate change. So we're like, this is it. Like, is there one more environmental group that he could possibly corrupt? Well, he is now. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, he's pushing them to no longer research climate change. So it has been the major federal science agency working against climate change, one of them. And a recent presentation revealed the agency was considering dropping the word climate from their mission, and what they replace it with is so incredible and has absolutely nothing to do with the climate at all. So the Rear Admiral, one of the leaders of NOAA, Timothy Gallant, proposed a new mission statement. He said that this is what the new mission statement is going to be. To understand or this was their old one, to understand and predict changes in climate, weather, occasions, and coasts and oceans. But according to his new mission statement last year, he proposed that it would be to protect lives and property, empower the economy, and support homeland and national security. I'm sorry, wait. How does it go from understanding changes in the weather, oceans, and coasts to protect lives and property, empower the economy, and support homeland and national security? That's what he wanted to change their mission statement to. I don't know, is this the Army? Is this the National Guard? Or is this the NOAA? I don't know. So that's what Trump had pushed him to change it to. Huge backlash. This didn't follow, people did not respond well to this. So he backtracked and he said that wasn't going to happen. Anyways, I'm going to leave you at that. There were several first responders. I didn't see the rest of that. Anyways, I'm going to leave you at that. So Jordan's coming on right now with a special report for you live. So stay right here and check that out. And I'll come back to you probably on Thursday and finish this up. So thanks for joining me. Bye. Oh, are you sure you want it? Yeah.